Hey guys, I'm going to give a presentation here about time management tips. Now, I appreciate Devin singing the praise of my time management skills and time management talking. It's one of my favorite topics, and I'll tell you guys just kind of the story of how it became one of my favorite topics. So when I was a young entrepreneur, young realtor, young business guy, hustling my butt off. I wanted to be super successful and I wanted to make a whole big pile of money. And the way that I accomplished that in my first 3 or 4 years of my career, combined with the fact that I was youthful and energetic, was I just worked my ass off. So, I was putting in 60, 70, 80 hours a week pretty consistently for about 2 years as a realtor, and gosh darn it, it worked. I made a bunch of money. I did a bunch of deals. But I also got super tuckered out. I was all about that Gary V life before Gary V was even a guy. Hustle more, work harder, talking about how I was always busy, bragging about how I was always busy. Nope, too busy. I was working, wearing it like a badge of honor. And then I kind of just got burned out after a little while. And it got to the point where I thought, measuring my success in terms of the amount of money I made in a year isn't the best metric for me. And I started to get obsessed with keeping that number the same, but decreasing the number of hours that it took me to get to that number. And so I went on a 2 or 3, maybe 4-year journey where my income stayed flat, which I was okay with because it was a very healthy income. But every year, the amount of hours I had to put in every week and every month, and the amount of vacation time I got to go on went up and up and up as I got more efficient, more intentional, and more precise with managing my time. And so that experience really started putting my head in the game of being an excellent time manager and trying to get the absolute most done with the least amount of time. So, when I'm looking at even, analyzing an investment property, I definitely look at the return on investment, the ROI, but I also look at my dollars per hour. I look at a project and I say, okay, over the next 5 years, this project is going to take me about 300, 400, 500 hours. If that joint venture is really only projected to do $30,000 or $40,000, well, that's, $30,000 over 500 hours. Like, I start really thinking about what the time value of that investment is. And that's something that I think a lot of new investors you just want to do the deal. And you're willing to put in the time, the effort, work all night, bust your butt all day, do what you got to do to get the deal done. As you start to get a little bit more refined, it's actually much more satisfying to create more value with less time invested, because then you have more time to do stuff that you like to do, and that's a lot of fun. So I've read quite a few time management books, many times. One of my favorites is 4-Hour Workweek. Another favorite is Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. I pretty much make everybody that works for me read Eat That Frog. It's essential reading, and because it's a darn good book. And so what I'm going to do in this presentation is break down 7 really easy to follow tips that I think will allow you to get more done with less time. So I actually gave this presentation a week and a half ago at the Real Estate Action Group in Vancouver, and I got great feedback. So I thought, hey, if this is a presentation that gets great feedback, it's worth sharing again. So I wanted to share it with our audience because, hey, you know what? The best way to get the year off on the right foot is to use the foundation of very strong time management to get more done. Because if you can get more done with less time, that automatically is setting you up for a much more successful year. So we're here to talk about 7 tips for time management, but I almost want to add the word 7 easy to follow tips for time management. So I'm going to show you what being an effective time manager has really done to impact my life. So number 1, professionally, right now we are the #1 team in eXp Realty. I personally own over 268 doors of multifamily and single family residential. I've been in the industry 15 years. We've done thousands of deals for Canadian real estate investors, and the Mogul team is now in 2 cities, which is awesome. That's me professionally. I get a lot done, but I also get a lot done on the fun side of my life. So I like to work hard. I like to play hard. I love traveling. COVID's kind of cramped that style, but that's just given me more time for being a ski enthusiast. I actually took a mini retirement, like they talk about, like Tim Ferriss talks about, in the 4-hour work week, and lived in Whistler for a season, which was an awesome experience. And again, being effective with my time allowed me to do that. I'm an insatiable foodie. I love to go out for dinner with my friends. And, you know, when I work hard. When I play hard. And being a good time manager allows me the ability to make both of those happen at a very high level. So tip number 1 is asking yourself, what is your number 1 priority? Prioritization is probably the most important part of time management. And the reason I'm saying that is because you can spend a lot of time and a lot of effort doing a lot of stuff and feel like you got nothing done, because everything that you didn't contribute to what you wanted to accomplish. So if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, you can spend a lot of time chasing your tail and a lot of time just kind of messing around without getting much done. So a really great example of this is, you know, and I know some of you out there are this kind of person where you're thinking, before I do my homework, I gotta clean my room. Oh, and I need a snack before I do my homework. And oh, I better watch a show. So you can spend hours and hours and hours not doing your homework, but still doing a lot of stuff. And then you're all tuckered out because the stuff you did, it required energy, but it didn't put the energy into your primary objective. So of course, the homework example doesn't really apply to very many of us in this presentation anymore, but there's something that you are trying to accomplish in your life right now. So what are some examples of things that people in this audience might be trying to accomplish? Well, obviously, finding a joint venture partner, doing a real estate deal, finding the next property to acquire, completing a flip on time and on budget. For the real estate professionals in this room, you maybe have goals to hit in terms of the number of houses that you want to sell. Or if you're in the mortgage business, maybe the number of mortgages you want to originate this year. Either way, there's something that you're trying to do. And if you don't first understand what that thing is, then you can spend all day, every day doing a whole lot of stuff that doesn't actually contribute to the thing that it is that you're trying to accomplish. So back to real estate, if your goal as a realtor is to sell a bunch of houses, then you have to form a question that helps you stay on task with your priority. So the tip is understand what your priority is and then program in the question into your head. Is what I am doing right now contributing to me helping someone buy or sell a house? If I'm a realtor, if I'm trying to do a joint venture, every time you're feeling overwhelmed, you stop and say, hey, is what I am doing right now getting me one step closer to doing a joint venture? The answer is no, you're doing the wrong stuff. So that's how you kind of cut through that feeling of always being busy but never getting anything done. So understand what your priority is and then do the things that get you closer to your priority. Tip number 2, organize your tasks by type. This is a very, very handy little strategy that I find is so effective for getting way more done. So when we look at this to-do situation here, there's 300 sticky notes, 250 sticky notes. I don't know, this isn't a gumball challenge. I'm not gonna make you guys guess, but it looks like a lot of stuff to do there. However, when we look at it a little bit more closely, we can see that there's some blue tasks and some pink ones, maybe some red ones, green ones, yellow ones, some light green ones. Either way, there's probably only 6 to 8 types of tasks. So what I like to do when I have task overwhelm is I try to cluster things by task type, because switching from one task type to another burns up a lot of time. That's why, for example, if you want a plumber or an HVAC guy to come out to your property, they charge you $150 just to show up, because packing up their tools, walking out to their van, starting their van, driving across town, and getting their clipboard out and getting a fresh page of quotation ready takes a whole lot of time just to switch to the task of helping you. Whereas if that plumber is already on site, it doesn't cost any more for him to do the toilet and the shower and the taps and the exterior hose and whatnot. That's all one cluster of tasks that's labeled plumbing work at your house. So in your professional sphere, there's clusters of tasks that are similar that start to bubble together. For example, bookkeeping and accounts payable and receivable, all of that money moving task. Well, once you've got your banking, your online banking open, and once you've got your bookkeeping spreadsheets out, and once you've got, if you do paper bookkeeping, all of your envelopes open, or if you do electronic bookkeeping, all of your folders with your PDFs open, once all that stuff's out, you've switched to that task. You've spent all of the time to get into the space to do that type of task. Now, it's just bang, 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 bang. Doing all the bookkeeping at once, great, it's done. So much more effective than doing a little something, something over here and then paying one invoice, and then doing a little something, something over there and then paying an invoice. Because one of the other risks that happens when you switch tasks is you procrastinate. For example, let's go back to our plumber who's zipping across the city. Well, chances are he might stop for a coffee on his way to your place. Chances are when you switch from one task to another, you're going to take a little pit stop in the kitchen to grab a snackaroo, or take a spin through Instagram, or who knows. So if you can stay focused on a task cluster, it makes it so much more impactful to get groups of tasks done at once. So, for example, we talked about bookkeeping. Another one would be property analysis. You've got 5 properties you need to analyze. Well, you've got MLS out, you've got your spreadsheet open, your head is in the number zone, bing, 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 bing. You do all 5 at once, you'll get through it faster than if you compartmentally see to the 5. Phoning people, say that you have 10 potential joint venture partners you want to phone. Just cluster those tasks and get them all done at once. Now, when we couple tip 2, organize your tasks by type, with tip 1, prioritize, well, now you know which task to cluster first to go after. Go after the ones that are going to contribute to your biggest priority. Now, at some point, your B-level tasks will need attention, like your bookkeeping almost never is going to get you one step closer to a joint venture partner, but at least you can get it done faster when it's clustered by type. So that's tip number 2, organize them by type before you get going. Now, tip number 3, and this is a tip all of us solopreneurs are really bad at first, and you have to learn to get good at if you want to start getting more done, is delegating. Delegate, delegate, delegate. It's super important. So you got to ask yourself, who can help? Who can help me do this thing? Because there's certain things that only you can do, but there's a heck of a lot that someone else can help you do to free you up to do the higher value stuff that only you can do, like putting together a joint venture. So for example, maybe all that bookkeeping could be done by a bookkeeper. For example, all of the handyman work that you're doing at your property yourself, maybe you're done by a handyman. Maybe you're employing your property manager. So before I actually start doing things, like I haven't actually done anything yet. So if we think about James sitting in his office, what have I done? I've sat back and been like, okay, what's the priority? What do I need to do? Number 2, I've taken all of this pile of work and I've crisply organized it into nice tracks. Then before I actually do anything myself, I'm like, okay, who can help me do some of this stuff? Now, I have an organization where I've got as executive assistants, marketing managers. Don't think about me. When I say that it's just me, solopreneur, one person, you've got subcontractors that you can delegate to. So it's important to get good at delegation, because otherwise you're going to put out requests and get results back that you weren't hoping for or anticipating. So when you're asking for help, ask for help specifically. You want to very clearly give a direction saying, and the best way to delegate, and this is a very important thing to internalize once you start asking for help, is understand, kind of like the old school, the 5 W's. So who are you going to ask? What are you going to ask them to do? Why do you need them to do it? Where can they find the resources to complete that task? When do you need it complete by? And then the bonus one, the H, the how. How are they going to know they completed the task for you? By what metric are you going to measure the completion? If you can answer those 6 questions in just like bing, bang, boom point form, you've given an effective delegation. Okay, now I start executing only after I've prioritized, I've organized by type, and I've delegated off the stuff that people can help me with. So this is where the total time management puzzle starts to get that important piece in the middle. Because a lot of people just start with execute. They get up, have a stretch, look at the pile of tasks, then they go, okay, I'm gonna start doing stuff. And you spend all day feeling like you're in a whirlwind because you're like, you do this, you do that. Someone calls you and asks you a thing. Someone texts you, an email comes in, and you're just constantly being barraged by all of these stimuli while simultaneously just bouncing around doing stuff that you kind of sort of want to do. And at the end of the day, you're like, holy smokes, I worked 10 hours. Just like Gary Vee said, I hustled. Boy, Gary Vee sure would be proud. But you're not really that much closer to accomplishing your key priority. So you got to flip the script. You got to start with your priorities, organize, and delegate. And here's the real thing that'll bake your noodle. Is it can feel very stressful to stop and do those three things when you have so much to do. Oh no, I don't have time to think about my priorities. Oh, I don't have time to organize this stuff. Oh, I don't even have time to explain to somebody how to help me because I just have so much to do that I just have to do it. We've all been there. We know what that mindset feels like. We've thought that train of thought. But here's what that train of thought actually looks like. It looks like you're driving down the car, desperately trying to get somewhere on the highway with a flat tire. And that flat tire is preventing you from going 110 kilometers an hour. You're just flopping around going 60. The prioritize, organize, delegate part of this whole time management setup is like pulling over and spending 50 minutes changing the tire so that you can get there going 110 instead of limping there going 60. So that's tips 1 through 4 of time management. Don't execute until you have prioritized, organized, and delegated. Now, next, keeping a consistent calendar. Now, I don't care where you keep your calendar. I know some people who are super old school, who just like putting pen to paper in a day timer, and that's the way they roll. That's great. Make sure if that works for you, do it. I personally feel like that may not be the most effective way to manage your calendar. I personally like using a calendaring app, Outlook, Google Calendar, whatever. The nice thing is it'll sync between your devices. So you'll see it on your phone, see it on your tablet, see it on your laptop, see it when you log into a portal, whatever. It's great. The other thing I like about an electronic calendar is you can move the calendar items around if you need to. So my recommendation, get good at electronic calendaring. But you know, if you're old school and you have a paper calendar, that's a heck of a lot better than trying to keep it in your head. So here's the thing about a calendar. I'm going to show you what my calendar looks like. This is my calendar. Now, the reason that calendar has time blocks, every one of the time blocks that's in that calendar, those are the same time blocks that are in my calendar this week, next week, 4 weeks from now, in the middle of the summer, because there are certain things that I need to do every single week to help contribute to my priority. So that's why this image exists, because time is like water. It's going to flow whether you want it to or not. It's that river. It's going. So in order for you to get done your most important priorities, you have to put rocks in your river. And that's what the time blocks in your calendar represent. Those are rocks in your river, and all of that other stuff, the whirlwind, the random tasks, the craziness, flow around those rocks, but those rocks are strong, they're solid, and they get done. So when we look at my calendar, what's the kind of stuff that's in here? There's having meetings with my team. There's my morning routine. If you look at Friday night, that's my personal evening. If you look on Sunday, I'm a bro who brunches. I go for Sunday brunch with my friends. That's what I do. So it's not all work and no play. This is a very well balanced calendar that represents the things that I do in my life to be successful professionally and the essentials that I need to do in my life to be successful personally. It's all scheduled in. So when this looks like an overwhelming calendar, well, it's not. I look forward to that Sunday brunch time slot. I look forward to Sunday afternoon from 2 until 8 o'clock being family time. I like on Saturday morning doing business development. I have my workouts in there. I like working out. If I don't, I go a little crazy. I like to make sure I make time for my morning routine. So the stuff I need to do is probably different than the stuff that you need to do, but you know what you need to do. And so when you block in those time blocks, everything else, all of the static, all of the chatter just starts happening in that white space in between. And the better you understand your priorities, the more you have your schedule set up as rocks and the less static starts to happen. That's a beautiful thing. So I would recommend as an exercise to sit down with a blank slate and start mapping out a week that really accurately depicts the kind of stuff that you need to do to get your stuff done. Now, we're all busy, so put the busyness in the calendar in a systematic way. For example, be realistic with yourself. If you only have 2 hours a week to call potential joint venture partners because you've got family commitments, then put 2 hours a week in, but make sure it happens. But don't do that at the cost of your family. Make sure you're putting in time blocks where you get to hang out with your family. That's having an effective, well-structured calendar with rocks in the river. Next slide. Start early. Now, this can be a contentious point for those of you who aren't morning people. And for those of you who aren't morning people, might be something you would want to consider learning in life. Because I'm going to make a very strong case for why starting a little bit early is going to get you so much more ahead and result in you feeling so much more in control of every day of your life. So this is what happens. The average person gets into the office at 9, messes around a little bit, maybe their workday starts at 9:30, 10 o'clock. So the average business world really gets rolling between 9 and 10. Now, if you start at the same time as everybody else, your day becomes a combination of accomplishing what you need to accomplish, but also simultaneously reacting to things that people need from you. Texts, emails, whatever. If you can roll that back and start around 7 o'clock, so not ridiculous early, I'm not like a 5 a.m. club kind of guy, but I get up at about 6. I get in the office about 7. From 7 until 9, I'm getting work done and sending delegation out to other people. I'm making requests, I'm accomplishing tasks, I'm creating workflow. And then by about 9:30, 10 o'clock, the rest of the world has to play catch up to me. So I am in the driver's seat of my day every single day because I've already gotten a 2-hour head start on the rest of the business world. And then everything that happens for me instead of me scrambling to play catch up to the morning people in the world. Now, I'll give you a really easy to follow tip. Good mornings start with good nights. It's really easy to be a morning person if you can be diligent about getting to bed on time. I go to bed at around 10, I wake up at 6. That's 8 hours of enjoyable, luxurious sleep I have every night, and I wake up feeling bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. If I was staying up until 12 o'clock watching Netflix and messing around on Instagram, yeah, 6 a.m. would really suck. But I wind her down, I have my little nighttime sleepy routine, I take a moment to chill, do some reflection, get all cozy in my comfy bed with my Egyptian cotton sheets, and then I get right down to sleeping. I do not procrastinate on getting to bed because that good night contributes to me having a good morning. And my early morning results in me spending every single day with a massive head start on the rest of the business world and comfortably pacing myself through the day, going through my rocks in the river, and very rarely feeling rushed or stressed or reactive. And it is a very comfortable feeling. And you'll be surprised by just how much more you get done by simply having that little bit of a head start on everybody else. So for those of you that aren't morning people, I strongly implore you to start thinking about going to bed just a little bit earlier and getting your day started just a little bit earlier. Tip number 7, everything works if you work it. So what do I mean by that? I mean, every system, every process, every action you take to make a result will work if you work it consistently. You're not going to get abs after working out in the gym for a week. You're not going to have a joint venture partner after calling 1 or 2 joint venture partners. You're not going to be the most successful realtor in your market if you only do 2 weeks of prospect calling and then give up. Big results take consistent application of little efforts every single day, every single week, every single quarter. And that's why I picked this image to really signify that idea, because at the end of this road is a city that we're trying to get to. But I can't see it. It's off in the distance. What I can see are the yellow ticks that are ahead of me. And I have faith in the fact that if I just cruise down that road, one yellow tick at a time, I'm going to get to that city. So the way that I'm going to get down that road is I'm going to make sure the wheels are changed on my car through the first 3 tips. I'm going to point in a straight line. I'm going to go at a consistent pace, and I'm just going to get there by consistently working that system. Same thing works in your business life, in your personal life. If there's something you want to accomplish, you just have to get going in the right direction and then consistently move in that direction. And that's what I mean by everything works if you work it. So don't expect those instantaneous results. Expect results to come with consistent effort. So those are 7-time management tips. I put this slide up for when I use this presentation at RE for people that wanted to get in touch with me. So if you want to get in touch with the guy on the left, give me a holler. We'll go shred at Whistler. If you want to get in touch with the guy on the right to talk about either a career in real estate or buying commercial assets, residential assets, multifamily assets, I got you. Look me up. I'll help you out. And I hope that at least one of those tips was handy. 7 tips is a lot to incorporate. So pick your favorite one and give it a go. And give it a go consistently for a quarter at least, because everything works if you work it. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to the illustrious Mr. Devin Gray.
Thank you so much, James. And one thing I can say as well with James, with his message about calendaring and time blocking to that, is he's very consistent, and he also does back up what he talks about. We see it in his daily routine. So thanks very much, James. That was excellent. We actually did a pretty much a full week of prepping for the year, the entire Mogul team, Edmonton and Vancouver. It was excellent. And one of the things as well that through our process, when James talked about priorities, and it was like, you know, what is your number one priority in your life? And of course, everybody has lots of answers, whether it's health or career or family. And it really does come down to your number one priority in life should be you. Because if you're not around, then you can't help anybody else and you can't accomplish all the things you want to in life. And so that was also very impactful as well. And so I wrote that down, as I initially thought that's where you were going about the number one priority, but it was excellent to be reminded of that as well, that we all have to make sure we focus on ourselves first, health and living a good life, so that we can be there for everybody else as we go through life. Thank you again, James, and also Phil. Just a little bit of a reminder, I'll bring this up at the end of the meeting as well. We're now on the 3rd Wednesday of every month through 2021. So our next Mogul Mastermind in February is going to be Wednesday, February 17th. February is tax time, so we'll be doing a real estate tax mastermind, and registration for that is already open. So we see some active people buying books and going on YouTube to look at past Mogul Mastermind. So why not register for February's mastermind? We have one more excellent speaker coming up. But first, if Jennifer is ready to go, we're going to do a networking break. So be ready to go into a breakout room. Certainly a lot of stuff to talk about, certainly actionable items, time management. We'll head off to the breakout rooms, and we'll see you afterwards.